everyone, it's Michi here. So for this year's Anime NYC, I cosplayed as the Grim Reaper from this indie visual novel called A Date with Death. In fact, the con vlog is currently up on my channel, so you can go check that out. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how I put this cosplay together, because as far as I can tell, there's currently no pre-existing costume for this character. So I'm gonna do something a little different this year and put together the costume myself using the power of Amazon, fabric glue, and my thirst for our baby girl. I can't sew, I am horrible at crafting, I've never altered clothing before, so I'm gonna warn you, this is gonna be a little crunchy, a little raggedy, a little, you know, yikes. But it's made with love, so stay tuned. So this is Grimmy. This is his character sheet taken from the game's gallery. Even though the jacket is one of my favorite parts of his design, I'll be cosplaying as this version of him for simplicity's sake and because I don't have it in me to wear a bulky jacket in August. So for a broke and unskilled weeb such as myself, the trickiest part of his clothes is probably going to be the shirt. It consists of two types of materials split asymmetrically by this gray line, and it also has a bunch of different random details and pieces we gotta bring to life somehow. To start, I got two long black sleeveless turtleneck shirts, the kind that every anime whore wears. It's kind of hard to tell from the video, but one shirt is a sort of rayon shirt. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, so I'm sorry. How the hell do I say that word? Rayon. Okay, I was right. Haha. One shirt is a rayon shirt and the other is ribbed. While the dimensions are similar between the two shirts for the most part, the turtleneck of the ribbed shirt is way too long. So that's something we're gonna have to fix later. I'm using this fabric marker to draw in where I'm going to cut the ribbed shirt. The idea is to cut the ribbed shirt and glue the piece on top of the intact rayon shirt. This rayon shirt's turtleneck collar is a good length and it's more of a light and breathable material compared to the ribbed texture. So I'm keeping the shirt intact to use as a sort of base or foundation. That way I know that the resulting Frankenstein shirt will definitely fit me and I don't have to worry about indecent exposure if God forbid the shirt falls apart on me. So I'm just drawing in faint lines, keeping in mind that the two types of fabric aren't split down the middle exactly and that there's gonna be more rayon surface area than the ribbed surface area. And I'm leaving extra wiggle room because I could always cut more, but it'd be hard to get the fabric back on, if that makes any sense. Welcome to my workspace, aka a picnic blanket on my bedroom floor. I'll be using these dumbbells to hold the shirt in place to keep it taut as I work. And this is where I realized I'm not only broke and unskilled, I'm also an idiot because I didn't take into account that I was using a mirror to draw the fabric marker line. So I actually drew the mirror image of the original shirt's design. Silly me. So I'm using the line I already drew as a guide, and now I'm using fabric scissors to cut along the line.
Every square computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
I've always been bad at cutting in a straight line, and I was scared I was gonna ruin the shirt, so this line is jagged as fuck. The most consuming part of this whole project was just snipping little pieces of fabric oh so carefully so that I got the best, cleanest edge I could get. Whenever I cut a straight piece of fabric in this video, just know that it took an additional 2 hours or so to clean it up because I suck at cutting. There must be a better way to do this, right? But anything for my king. Now it's time to layer the ribbed piece over the rayon shirt to see if my estimated measurements were way off, and fortunately I cut just about the right amount of fabric for the desired look, so yay! Now I'm using a hair clip to keep the shirt taut. Listen, we're resourceful around here, okay? And here comes the star of the show. I'll be using the fabric glue to piece the two shirts together. It's the first time I'm using fabric glue and I probably should be wearing gloves for this. And it's time to glue. There's not much to this part, just putting a line of glue on the rayon shirt and pressing the ripped shirts on the area for about 30 seconds and repeating this process little by little throughout the whole shirt. I'm doing this with the shirt on my body because I want to make sure, obviously, that the ripped piece lands exactly where I want it to when I'm wearing it, though it makes it a bit hard to see where the glue is going, especially farther along down the shirt. Now it's time to fight with his long ass collar. I initially kept the turtleneck intact because I was scared to lose the shirt's form completely, but now that I know where the ripped shirt lands on my body, it's time to cut it off. I try my best to just eyeball the best place to cut. And because I can't turn my head 180 degrees, I'm sorry, I'm untalented, I cut off the back side of the collar on the floor. And the evil has been defeated. And now I'm gluing the ribbed piece on the back of the shirt. Also a super time-consuming process. And here it is, the Frankenstein shirt. I'm actually shocked it turned out well, despite me just eyeballing all the measurements, but I'll take what I can get. Now I'm just cleaning up the bottom of the shirt, getting rid of extra fabric. Now it's time for the gray details. So, I'm cutting a strip of gray fabric, again, ruining my posture and hurting my neck to get the cleanest edge possible, and cutting smaller pieces of it to place individually on the shirt. Again, just eyeballing the measurements. Gluing, little by little. You probably noticed I got rid of the gloves because fuck it, we ball. The gloves were a bit large on me, so it made it harder to place the strips of fabric accurately. One thing about this fabric glue is that it gets everywhere and it dries quickly, so it sort of leaves like dry little like crustings, if that's the best way to describe it. So I had to be extra delicate. Off camera, I made a diagonal slice of the bottom of the rayon shirt following the original design. And here's how the gray fabric turned out on the shirt. If you don't look too closely at the fucked up edges, I have to say it looks pretty decent so far. Now it's time for the little belt buckle thingies. I considered using the gray fabric to cut out the shapes, but as an unskilled weeb who can't even cut straight lines, let alone straight lines that look like each other, I found it easier to just use real belt buckles. They give the shirt a shinier look that I like. It was easiest to just apply the glue directly on the metal and just place it on the shirt. Pretty simple. And here's my next oopsies. After gluing the buckles, I tried on the belts that go on the waist and discovered the third buckle sat way too low on the torso. I depended so heavily on the reference image that I forgot I do not have the same torso as an anime man, so I just peeled the buckle off. It was relatively easy to remove, but it left the dry glue residue behind. The mess eventually gets covered up in the end. And thank goodness there was enough space between the two other buckles so I could place a third buckle without having to rearrange the other ones. Throughout this video, I'm going to mention little things that, looking back, I would have done differently to improve the cosplay. For my first hindsight note, I regret not getting smaller buckles, or I regret not even trying to cut out the buckle shapes out of the gray fabric, because honestly these buckles made the shirt more cluttered than I had imagined it, but oh well, we live some, we learn some. And now for the red fabric that wraps around the hips, waist area. Another hindsight note, I wish I would have paid more attention to the actual colors of the fabric compared to the original design. For example, I should have got a darker, more maroon red rather than this saturated cherry red looking fabric. But anyway, I cut a wide piece of red fabric, trying it on to see how to adjust it further. I adjust the width by rolling the fabric, and later on I cut the excess fabric that's dangling behind me. And for now, I'm trying on the belts again, snatching my figure the best I can, and voila! Here's the top with all its little knickknacks. I've been envisioning this process for so many months, figuring out how I was gonna put it all together, and I'm glad that it actually worked out. Lastly, I'm cutting out the diamond shapes that go on the collar. I tried using the method of folding the fabric and cutting a triangle into the fold, and I also tried sketching guidelines for the diamond shape. Either way, it took me many tries to get the two diamond shapes that look somewhat like cousins first removed, even if they aren't exactly like identical twin sisters. But you know what? I'm satisfied with that. And again, for simplicity's sake, and because the scissors and I clearly aren't best friends, I just colored in the negative space in the diamonds with a pen before gluing the diamonds on the shirt. And with that, the shirt is officially complete. Yay! Bottoms unite! It's time for the pants. I'm just using these black slacks I already own and cutting longer strips of gray fabric that goes around the thighs and around the bottom of the pants, eyeballing the measurements and adjusting as I try on the fabric around my legs. I had to make sure the fabric strips are of similar widths, except for the wider one on the left leg, which I imagine is more of like a belt illusion. Again, in hindsight, I wish I'd paid more attention to the colors of the original design. The gray detail of the pants is a darker gray than the gray details of the shirt, and I wish I'd made the strips of fabric thinner too. I feel like these changes would have made the pants look less cheap or less cartoonish, if that makes sense. Anyway, time for the toughest gluing job of this entire project. Trying to glue the strips of fabric at the exact place I wanted it to go, not too high or too low on the leg, was a challenge, especially when it came to working on the back of my leg. I was fighting for my life to ensure the fabric on the back fell on the same place on my leg as it did on the front. But given physical constraints, I can only go by feeling and by vibes, praying that the fabric ends up where I wanted it to go. Also, because I applied the glue on the fabric itself before placing it on the pants, when I twisted my arm around to place the fabric on the back of my leg, the fabric ended up adhering to itself, so it was a struggle. I eventually became big-brained and I thought, wait a minute, it'd be easier to just take the pants off and use the fabric already glued on the front of the pants as a guide, like kind of just following the natural circumference of the pants, if that makes sense. Anyway, the damage had already been done by my initial attempts at gluing the back of the pants, and I figured, well, it'd be one of those times where the back of the outfit isn't any of my business, okay? Gluing the gray fabric on the bottom of the pants was pretty straightforward though. I placed another one of the belt buckles on the widest gray fabric to complete the belt illusion. And here are the pants. Again, the back of the pants are none of my business, and honestly, it shouldn't be any of your business either. So, overall, not too bad. And the gray strips of fabric don't cut off my leg circulation, but they also don't slide down the legs or look too baggy or like wrinkle a bunch, so I'm pretty satisfied with how it turned out. Gloves time! It's the magical gloves that somehow lets Grimmy feel MC's warm and soft hands. It's anime logic, okay? Anyway, I got these black opera-length spandex gloves, which are pretty cute and comfortable and fit around my arms and my hands pretty well. I felt sort of bad destroying them later on, but again, anything for my king. So Grimm's gloves are red at the palms, so I took the red fabric from before and cut out hand shapes, using my hands for the guidelines. Part of me wondered if I should have used some sort of paint instead for a cleaner look, but I worried that the paint may be flaky or rub off, and it may like stain whatever I touched, so I just opted for the fabric I already had instead, even if they do look a little raggedy. After cleaning the edges a bit, it's time to glue the red fabric to the glove. I glued it while wearing the glove so that it lands where I wanted it to while the gloves are being worn, but I ended up with black tinted glue that bled onto my hand. Needless to say, I just did my best in gluing the other glove off of my hand. And this is how the palms turned out. Again, if you don't look too closely, it doesn't look that bad. Are you noticing a common theme of this cosplay transformation? Just don't look closely. And it's time to ruin the gloves even further. Our edgy princess got one glove shorter than the other, so snip, snip, snip. Cutting the glove destroyed the fitted look, so it was giving more dishwashing gloves than demure Grim Reaper, I eat pineapple on pizza gloves. But I fixed it off camera using fabric glue to attach the glove to itself in order to narrow the glove's opening so that it fits more snug on my wrist. And with the remaining fabric from the glove, I cut out the armband thing Grim has on his right arm. And here's the final look. Also, I forgot to mention, I use fashion tape to attach these gray details on the belts to really complete the look. I'm keeping it simple with the shoes and just using these black heels that I already own. And that completes the outfit. Do you recall me saying in my earlier videos how I refuse to wear a wig? Yeah, this is why. My big ass head and my lack of hairstyling and wig styling skills. I tried on different long white wigs, attempted to style these wigs in different ways, and failed miserably each and every time. My problem was that Grim's hair is styled a certain way at the top of his head, and then it sort of cascades down in flowing locks. And I was trying to style his bangs in the top of his hair, but it didn't work out. But my brain cells kissed, I remember who I am, an unskilled weeb, and I thought, wait a minute, why am I trying to style these wigs instead of just getting a wig that's already been styled? So I got a white longish mullet styled wig that came with a wig cap that actually fit my bobblehead, believe it or not. And separately, I got this white ponytail clip that I placed near the nape of my neck to use as a sort of hair extension. I actually ended up ordering another one of these clips later on, but in hindsight, Grim's hair is thin enough at the ends that I would have been okay with just one clip. Sorry, Grim. The wig actually fit me better than the other wigs I tried, but I still put the wig on one of my plushies to try to loosen the wigs further, which actually helped in the end. Now I'm just combing the hair. Another hindsight note, I wish I'd look harder for a white wig that was styled more closely to Grim's hair, if such a wig does exist. For this wig, I didn't appreciate the strands of hair that stood up at the top, and I wish it was sort of fuller at the top of the scalp too, to give that sort of bigger, rounder look that Grimmy's hair has. The wig was also much thinner along the sides of my head, like in the sideburn area, to the point where sometimes you can see my natural hair peeking through, no matter how much I comb the hair to cover it. But at that point, I was at my wit's end with wigs, and I was just satisfied enough with the look. For some reason, the wig also came with sunglasses, so of course I had to, well, do all that. My baby! It's Azrael! Am I saying that right? Azrael?
Azrael or Azriel.
So the original Azrael is a lot bigger than this axolotl plushie I got, but I couldn't resist this plushie's cute face. And it worked out because the plushie ended up fitting perfectly in the bag that I used for the con. Now for the sunflowers for my sunshine. I got a box of 10 fake sunflowers. You attach the head of the flower to the stem, and that's pretty much it. It goes in pretty easily, but it also falls off pretty easily, which I didn't really notice until I was at the con and I had people constantly tapping my shoulder and giving me flower heads that had fallen on the ground. So, in hindsight, I should have glued the pieces together. But overall, the flowers look full and gorgeous, and it does the job. I was debating whether to get a scythe because did I really want to lug it around all day at the con? But then again, what's a Grim Reaper without his scythe? Of course, I wasn't gonna find a scythe that matched the original design exactly, so I just went with one that looked easy to assemble and one that looked cool enough. In hindsight, I should have went with one that I could disassemble too, because walking around the con with the prop all day was actually quite the challenge. I applaud all cosplayers who walk around with even bigger props. Like, I don't know how you do that. In an ideal world that's constantly floating around my coconut head, the scythe would be a lot longer and more intimidating looking. I appreciated not having to carry around a huge scythe for practical reasons. And this is the bag I'm taking to the con. I tied the flowers together using rubber band for easy handling. And now I've got these hands-free props that not only add cutesy vibes that contrast the rest of the edgier look, but they also signal who this character is and distinguish him from other edgy-looking anime boys with white hair and black clothes. In fact, one person recognized this character at the con because of these props, so I'd say they're pretty essential. Alright, makeup time! So as usual, after washing my face and putting on sunscreen, I start off with foundation. Then I use this lip crayon thing to add some red under my eyes, the way our baby girl does. Perhaps he needs more sleep. I'm just applying a bit and then using my fingers to smudge it upwards, sort of where my eyeliner wing will be, and I layer on more and more to make the red bolder. And then the eyeliner. You know, true growth is not having to meditate before applying eyeliner and getting it right the first time somehow. I remember for my first cosplay get ready with me in 2021, I was poking my eye, I was getting eyeliner everywhere, and my cellar water was pouring from my eyes from how much I fucked up the liner. But I guess I got lucky today. Next, I'm applying mascara to the upper lashes, but most importantly, I'm putting some on my lower lashes because, like any anime whore, Grimm's lower lashes are pretty prominent. Lately, I've been really into putting some shimmer in the corners of my eyes, so I'm using this gold highlighter here to add some pizzazz to my eyes. Next, I'm using my fingers to apply this cream red blush. I put some on my cheeks and some on my nose. At that moment, I thought that I was adding a lot, but I could have added way more because Grimm's a pale blushy boy, and I wanted to emulate that, but I guess instead I went for the more demure route. I'm using a different foundation and applying it under my eyes, using my finger to cover my dark circles some more. Another technique that I've been using lately. Listen, working in healthcare is no joke. Applying some chapstick, then I'm using this lip crayon thing to give a hint of color to my lips, tying the whole red palette together. And that's pretty much it for makeup. True to my style, it's pretty simple because I'm bad at makeup, but I am proud of how my eyes turned out. I think the red adds such a cool depth. In hindsight, I could have added false lashes, especially the lower lashes, or attempted to draw false lower lashes to really enhance that anime eye look. I gotta experiment with my liner game for sure. Also, in an ideal world, I would have painted my eyebrows white and put on red contacts, but honestly, I was too scared to mess with my eyebrows or mess with contacts, so perhaps next time. Hey, listen, I'm already wearing a wig for the first time. Baby steps, okay? Baby steps. And here's the final look! Yay! So I'm recording this after the convention, and let me tell you, the fabric glue really holds up. I was half expecting my cosplay to fall apart with the hustle and bustle of the con, but other than the flowers I spoke about earlier, the rest of the cosplay stayed intact. I definitely would recommend this fabric glue as a non-sewing alternative for sure. Again, it's not the perfect cosplay, but I had a lot of fun putting it together with whatever limited resources and skills that I had. I've been imagining this cosplay since first playing A Date with Death back in March, and I'm so glad it worked out and I got to take Grimmy to Anime NYC. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching and listening to me yap. I really like making videos like this, and I hope that you enjoy watching them too. Please play A Date with Death and thank me later. Again, you can check out my Anime NYC vlog up now on my channel. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!